It's time for the McMedia Report. Today is Friday, September 26th, 2005. My name is Eric. I'm a former news director and program director for some news talk radio stations, so I've seen both the inside and the outside of the news business. I'm still very passionate about the news, and I think it has a very important role in society. So I like to cover some news stories that aren't necessarily making headlines either on your local television station, online, or in your local newspapers. Other than that qualification, I don't really have any other reason to be sharing this or any other reason for you to be believing anything that I say. However, I hope over time you see that what I'm presenting is factual and is important. Today, there's something going on in the news that you often see covered, but I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into what's going on here. And that is the famous carriage dispute. It is such a stupid name. But let's talk about what's going on and what you might be seeing in the headlines. It has been reported by CNBC and then several other outlets after they released it that YouTube TV and Comcast are running out of time to reach an agreement to keep NBC and all of its related cable channels on YouTube TV. The deal is expiring at the end of the month, so that's about 5 days away. And usually when a carriage dispute happens, we get to about the 5-day mark. A news story comes out that both sides are far apart, and then eventually a deal is made. Things kind of go silent because then everyone is happy and they're not going to lose access to Sunday Night Football and their Big Ten and all of that stuff. However, a couple months later, prices typically increase on your cable bill. So that's usually what happens. What is at play here and what exactly is a carriage dispute? Well, let's go back to the early days of cable. And I'm talking about before even ESPN and Nickelodeon existed. Cable providers found out that they could bring a wire into your house and they could take the over-the-air signals that you were getting from a giant antenna on your roof and pipe them in a much cleaner format into your house. And then once that started to happen, they were like, oh, there's a ton more bandwidth available in that cable. So they started finding ways of adding programming to it, and that's where ESPN was born. Things like Nickelodeon and TBS were born. Things like HBO and just the original single-channel HBO were born. And as more and more cable channels were added, what these cable network distributors found out was, well, ESPN now has college basketball, and no one covered college basketball before. We can actually charge our customers a little bit of money and pay that to ESPN, and cable companies and cable networks can grow together. Well, soon ABC affiliates, NBC affiliates, Fox affiliates, and CBS affiliates were like, wait a minute, way more people watch us. Why are we just piping ourselves into people's homes? So what they did was they gave up this right that every broadcaster has, which is a must-carry right. So you can say to a cable operator in a certain area, you are operating in my broadcast territory. You have to carry me. And with that must-carry comes no fee back to the broadcaster. So initially they said, you must carry us. We must get into everyone's home. So now all of a sudden you're happy at home. You're clicking through the channels. There's your ABC. There's your NBC. And then the local affiliates realized, wait a minute, we can give up the must carry status in exchange for getting some of those retransmission or subscriber fees back. So now all of a sudden the affiliate says you have 30 days to come to an agreement to continue to carry us, or we're going to remove our programming from your system. That's how all of this carriage stuff began to happen. And now agreements are so specific. It says how much time local cable operators can sell their own advertising, how much promotion they must give to the distributor. So sometimes if you're watching like YouTube TV, you'll see an ad for YouTube TV. That's because that channel agreed to give YouTube TV so much promotion as part of the deal. Well, fast forward to today, carriage arrangements are getting shorter in duration. Content providers such as NBC and Disney are adding more properties to what they carry. And so when I say more properties, they're expanding their coverage of the NFL. They are adding things like premium live events on ESPN from the WWE. So then every 2 years they can go back and they can say, well, hey, if you don't pay us more, we're just pulling it from your system. And that's the latest dispute that we're in right now between Comcast and YouTube TV. And what is at the heart of this is that Comcast, which is NBC, Peacock, Bravo, and I still believe they're representing those other cable channels because I don't think the spinoff has formally completed, but maybe it has. But that's beside the point. NBC is trying to extract more money, and YouTube TV is trying to say, well, if you extract more money from us, we're going to have to raise prices. None of the consumers want that. And then they negotiate. Eventually, a higher price than what they're currently paying is reached. Everything stays copacetic, and then your bill goes up in a couple months. What's really interesting about this dispute is the ease of use that YouTube TV is demanding from Comcast, that Comcast right now is refusing to budge on. Specifically, what I mean by that is they've basically reached an agreement in principle for Comcast's properties to stay on YouTube TV and for YouTube TV to offer access to Peacock. So what you can do is you can go to your Peacock account, you can say I'm a YouTube TV subscriber, it all gets connected and you get access to Peacock without having to pay for Peacock separately. It gets paid for automatically through your subscription to YouTube TV. What YouTube TV is saying is, in addition to that, we're happy to connect everything through the Peacock app and do that. What we want to do is take everything that you broadcast through Peacock and stick it in the YouTube TV interface. Think about how nice that would be if you were a subscriber of YouTube TV, that when there's that Peacock exclusive, you can have it in your guide right next to regular NBC, right next to FS1. If it happens to be a Big Ten game, you can have it in a quad box with the game that's on Peacock, the game that's on NBC, the game that's on Fox, and the game that's on Big Ten Network. That would be so nice to us as a consumer. Why wouldn't Comcast want that? Well, because if you are not using the Peacock app, they can't get access to your data and monetize it. Now, I get there's kind of like a trade-off. Well, would you rather have Google access to your data or Comcast access to your data? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, someone's getting your data and is going to monetize it. So wouldn't you rather have the nicer experience by having everything consolidated in one place? Comcast doesn't want to give it to you because that means less monetization of your data and less money to them. They'd rather forego a nice user experience in order to get more money out of your data. So that's problem number one. But why do these carriage disputes even exist? Why is everything part of a bundle and everything is so obscure? Well, there are huge NDAs as part of these contracts. So when Disney negotiates with Comcast, which is the country's largest cable provider, and then they negotiate with Spectrum, which is becoming Cox, which is going to be the second largest cable provider, they keep the details of the arrangement under lock and key because they don't want, mom and pop podunk one county, or we're here in Louisiana, one parish cable provider to see what someone else, the big behemoth, is paying because they'd rather extort more money out of those smaller providers. It's really rude, and it's just the worst capitalism that's out there because it's squeezing the small guy to benefit the big guy, and at the end of the day, that just screws us, the lowly consumer, all the way at the bottom of the totem pole. Now, what could be done? Well, cable companies could be forced to offer every channel a la carte. How many times has this been asked for in Congress and it never gets brought up? Well, gee, I wonder why this doesn't get brought up. Because if you obfuscate the amount of money that you're paying to these big providers and you make it harder to stop giving money to them in exchange for not receiving their programming, they benefit. So Disney's paying off everyone in Congress. Comcast is paying off everyone in Congress. Fox is paying off everyone in Congress. Paramount is paying off everyone in Congress. So are Turner. Everyone is paid off. This would be so friendly to the consumer, but it would hurt those rich people and the big businesses all the way at the top. So they just pay off the lawmakers. They get what they want. We hate everything about it, and we have to suffer through it. And then we also have to suffer through these disputes. So that's why you can't opt in and opt out. And that's why you are stuck between a rock and a hard place. The next big fight to watch is at the end of October, when the deal between YouTube TV and Disney runs out, and we're going to see the exact same fight, because what's being reported out there is that YouTube TV is willing to agree to a price increase in order to give access to Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Unlimited, but YouTube TV is going to ask for the exact same thing, which is we want all of that in for all of those shows, all of that content ingested into YouTube TV so it can all be side by side with everything else. Now, is there a benefit to being a part of a cable bundle, whether that is a virtual cable operator like a YouTube TV, Hulu Plus Live TV, DirecTV Stream, Dish? Well, the benefit is because you're part of a bigger group, you do typically get lower prices than going individually to the Disney bundle, adding Peacock, adding Paramount Plus, adding Fox One, adding HBO Max, which had the Turner Sports, but now there's probably going to be a different Turner app. So yes, by bundling everything together and guaranteeing to the big companies that everyone is always going to pay for everything, you typically get a lower price, but it's at the expense of having control. The control can all be relinquished if Congress would just do something consumer friendly. So that's something to think about. I hope you understand carriage disputes a little bit more. We're going to be following this story as Comcast and Google duke it out. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we're going to be paying more money one way or another. That's today's McMedia Report. My name is Eric. I'm also a part of Movie Night and Game Day. You can check out that channel. It's a lot more fun. It's a lot lighter. We dive into movies. We dive into sports. We play some games with each other, and we ask you to be a part of it. But I will see you back here on Monday for another edition of the McMedia Report.